If f of x equals the square root of sine of x times cos of x, find the derivative f dashed of x. So sometimes we come across questions that have a chain product and or quotient rules all involved in the one question. So for this one, we can see we have the square root of two functions multiplied together. So the overall rule that we're going to use is the chain rule. We've got an inner and an outer function, and the inner function is more complicated because it has two things multiplied together, which will require the use of the product rule. So we're going to let the function u equal the inner, which is sine of x times cos of x. And that would mean that y is simply equal to the square root of u, which could be written as u to the power of 1/2. So du dx, the derivative of sine of x times cos of x, will require the product rule. So here we're going to take the first function, sine of x, and we're going to multiply it by the derivative of the second function, and cos of x differentiates to negative sine of x. And then we add on to that the second function, cos of x, and then we multiply that by the derivative of the first, and sine differentiates to cos of x. So therefore du dx is simply equal to, and this will give negative sine squared of x plus cos squared of x. So we can write this as cos squared of x minus sine squared of x. And then next up, calculating dy du is going to equal, and we take the power out the front and subtract 1 off the power, giving a half u to the power of negative a half. And that can be written as 1 divided by 2 times the square root of u, because the negative will put the u term in the denominator, and the half will introduce the square root sign. So now we're ready to calculate the overall derivative, so we use the chain rule now. Dy dx is equal to dy du multiplied by du dx. So for this question, f dashed of x, the derivative we're asked to calculate, is going to equal dy du, which is 1 over 2 times the square root of u. So we write on the bottom line 2 times the square root of, and this is going to be sine of x times cos of x. So that's what the function u originally was. And then on the top line, we multiply that fraction by cos squared of x minus sine squared of x. So 1 times that would just give cos squared of x minus sine squared of x. So that would be the answer to this question. And just keep in mind that this really isn't a question that's asked at the level of maths methods, but it is something that you can do if you needed to.